how we divide the brain stem. Midbrain, Pons and Medulla Oblongata. So let me take these columns. So we'll take the first 3 columns first and then we'll go to the rest of them. So what are the 3 efferent columns we have in the sequence, starting from the first was the general somatic efferent, special visceral efferent and general visceral efferent. General somatic efferent, special visceral efferent and general visceral efferent. So if I just demarcate make sure you have the space on this side of the page. We have to draw the afferent column as well, so don't write anything on this side. So guys, general somatic efferent, can you again remind me the general somatic efferent? The word is somatic, and what are the muscles which are derived from somites only? Extraocular and tongue muscle. Now extraocular muscles are supplied by which nerve? The 3rd nerve, the 4th nerve and the 6th nerve, oculomotor, trochlear and abducen. So guys, oculomotor nucleus is present in the midbrain, trochlear nucleus is also present in the midbrain, and abducen nucleus is present in the pons. So 3rd, 4th nucleus are present in the midbrain and 6th nucleus is present in the pons. So these are the nerve which will supply the extraocular muscle. And what was the another muscle in this group? The tongue muscle. Tongue muscles are supplied by the hypoglossal nerve, and we have this huge hypoglossal nuclei. So there is this hypoglossal nuclei which is present in this column in the medulla oblongata. So simple, general somatic efferent, just catch the word somatic, which tells you about the muscles derived from somites. You know the muscles from the somites which are extraocular muscle and tongue muscle. So 3, 4, 6 and 12. These are the only thing or the only cranial nerve nuclei which we will have in GSE column and nothing else. So that is the first column having 3rd, 4th, 6th and 12th cranial nerve nuclei. Coming to special visceral efferent, what was special visceral efferent? SVE, special viscera was pharyngeal arches. Think of pharyngeal arch once again. What was the nerve for first pharyngeal arch and second pharyngeal arch? It was mandibular nerve and facial nerve. So we have motor nucleus of mandibular nerve. Mandibular is a mixed nerve. So I'm saying it is motor nucleus of the mandibular nerve. And same thing with the facial nerve. Facial is also a mixed nerve, so it is the motor nucleus of the facial nerve. Both are present in the pons. They both are present in the pons, mandibular and facial nucleus. What was the nerve for the next arch? The nerve for the next arch was 9th nerve, and then we have the 10th nerve. So once again we have this column here, but a very important thing to note here is that this is the nuclei which is common for 9th nerve, understood, 10th nerve, that is also understood, also cranial accessory nerve. Collectively this nucleus is called as nucleus ambiguus. This is called as nucleus ambiguus. So 9th, 10th and 11th. Now mandibular and facial understood, 9th, 10th, and why 11th nerve? 11th nerve because 11th nerve is, I should say it's one of the most unfortunate nerve in head and neck. It does a lot, but the credit goes to vagus. If I ask you what is a nerve supply for the palate or pharynx, then you will say pharyngeal plexus. Now pharyngeal plexus it's not a very convincing answer. What is exactly pharyngeal plexus? So it's actually the cranial accessory nerve which is supplying majority of the muscles in palate and pharynx, but not directly. by going through the vagus nerve, and that's why the credit is going to vagus nerve. For an example, I mean, don't spoil your page on this side. I'm saying if this is a vagus nerve here, now vagus nerve is supplying whatever it is supplying, the cranial accessory nerve will come and join the vagus nerve. So all the muscles of palate and pharynx, they look like they are supplied by the vagus nerve, but actually their supply are coming from the cranial accessory nerve. So the nerve, cranial accessory nerve, is regarded as the major nerve which supplies the muscles of palate and pharynx, but as I said, not directly through the vagus nerve. So all these supplied to the muscles of palate and pharynx are regarded as the vago-accessory complex. They are supplied by the VAC, vago-accessory complex. These two nerves will make one complex, and they together supplies all these muscles. Or you can say the cranial accessory nerve via vagus. So the word is VAC. You can call it vago-accessory complex. Either you say that the vago-accessory complex is supplying the muscles of palate and pharynx, or you better say the cranial accessory nerve via vagus is supplying the muscles of palate and pharynx. So that's one little piece of information there, which we will again talk about in the when we discuss the muscles of the palate and pharynx. Okay, so coming back to this efferent column, so we have all the skeletal muscle covered here. We have all the skeletal muscle from the somites, and we have all the skeletal muscle which are derived from the pharyngeal arches. Third column, the GVE column, the column which is for what? Remember, it is for the smooth muscles and glands. Now smooth muscles and glands, let's take the glands first, salivatory glands. So we have a nucleus here called as the superior salivatory nucleus and inferior salivatory nucleus. So we have a superior salivatory nucleus and inferior salivatory nucleus, both are present in the pons. Superior salivatory and inferior salivatory, and the name and their function is kind of opposite. The one which is called as the superior salivatory nucleus will supply the glands below, and the one which is called as inferior salivatory nucleus will supply the gland above, the salivary gland above. Once again, if I am saying superior salivatory nucleus, it is supplying the submandibular and sublingual gland, whereas inferior salivatory nucleus will supply the parotid gland. So it's kind of opposite. The superior is supplying the glands below, the inferior is supplying the gland which is above, the parotid gland. What about lacrimal gland? If the question says that the lacrimal gland is supplied by which nucleus, then lacrimal nucleus, lacrimatory nucleus is nothing but the caudal part of superior salivatory nucleus. Lacrimatory nucleus, guys, is nothing but the caudal part of, I am writing LN here, that is lacrimatory nucleus. Caudal part of superior salivatory nucleus is called as lacrimatory nucleus. So if the question says that the lacrimal gland is supplied by what, then you will go with the superior salivatory nucleus only. Obviously you will not get the lacrimatory nucleus in the option, so your answer will be superior salivatory nucleus. There we have this nucleus, once again a huge nucleus present in the medulla oblongata, and this is called as the dorsal nucleus of vagus. Dorsal nucleus of vagus. The dorsal nucleus of vagus will take care of the muscles and the glands of GIT and respiratory system. We know the vagus nerve is supplying all those, so dorsal nucleus of vagus will take care of the muscles of smooth muscles. Basically, we know this column is for the smooth muscles and glands, so it will supply the smooth muscles of the GIT and respiratory and along with the glands over there. Now there is one more thing which we need to supply. There is one more group of smooth muscles we have to supply here, and that will be sphincter pupillae and ciliaris muscle. and sphincter pupillae and ciliaris muscle are supplied by the nucleus called as Edinger-Westphal nucleus. They are supplied by the, I am writing EW there, that is Edinger-Westphal nucleus, which is supplying these smooth muscles like sphincter pupillae and ciliaris muscle are supplied by this. So that will come under this column. Okay. So this is about the efferent column. We have now there's something more we need to talk about this GVE column. When you say the word general visceral efferent column, you are also looking at the column which is parasympathetic in function, supplying the glands, secretomotor supply to gland or to smooth muscle is what? It's a parasympathetic activity. So this column is a parasympathetic column. So guys, GVE column also tells you that how many cranial nerves are parasympathetic nerve. Now when we say parasympathetic outflow, what you say? You say it is craniosacral outflow. Sympathetic outflow is thoracolumbar outflow. Now what is the meaning of craniosacral outflow? The cranial outflow is the cranial nerves which are parasympathetic, and out of the 12 pairs of cranial nerve that we have, it's the 3rd nerve, 7th nerve, 9th nerve and 10th nerve related to all these nucleus that we will see. 3rd, 7, 9 and 10. So these are the nerves 3, 7, 9 and 10 which are parasympathetic cranial nerves. Three, 7, 9 and 10, these are parasympathetic cranial nerve. Edinger-Westphal is related to 3rd nerve, superior salivatory nucleus to the facial nerve, inferior salivatory nucleus to the glossopharyngeal, and needless to say this is dorsal nucleus of vagus nerve. So we have these 4 nerves which are parasympathetic. So this column is a parasympathetic column, GVE column. So please note that 3, 7, 9 and 10 are the parasympathetic cranial nerve that we have. Now let's come to the afferent column. This is about the efferent column. Now let's come to the afferent column and see what all will come under the afferent column. So once again let's make these 3 columns here. Corresponding afferent columns. So let's start from the corresponding one. Now one thing which you need to note here is that GVA, which is corresponding of GVE, and SVA, which is corresponding of SVE, they both are considered in one column only. GVA and SVA, look at that, GVA and SVA, we are considering them together, and then we have this GSA, and we will come to this column in a minute. GVA, SVA in one column. Now first of all, what does it mean? Now it means that there is one nucleus which is responsible for both the function, isn't it? What was GVA? General sensation, remember the temperature of the coffee, and SVA, special sensation, the taste of the coffee. Just an example there. That means both these general and the special sensation from the viscera are going to one nucleus, and that's a unique piece of nucleus we have, or this is a unique piece of gray matter present in the brainstem, and you will not find any such nuclei above it or below it. It's the only thing we have in this column, and that's why we use the word solitary. The solitary means alone, so it is the only alone nucleus here, or the solitary nucleus here, called as nucleus of Tractus solitarius. This is nucleus of Tractus solitarius. That is the nucleus of Tractus solitarius. And this nucleus of tractus solitarius, we said it is doing both the function. It is carrying the general sensation and it is carrying the taste sensation. So there must be a part of this nucleus which is responsible for taste and the part of this nucleus for the general sensation. It is the cranial part of this nucleus. It's a cranial part of this nucleus which I am just darkening here, where I am writing G. This is for gustatory sensation, that is taste sensation. So cranial part, I am writing G here, that is for gustatory sensation or taste sensation, and caudal part is for the general sensation. So guys, that your temperature of the coffee will go into the caudal part of the nucleus, and the taste of the coffee will go to the cranial part of this nucleus, which is gustatory. So it's the cranial part, or in other words I can say it's the cranial part of the nucleus which is special visceral afferent, and the caudal part of the nucleus is general visceral afferent. So cranial part is for the special sensation and caudal is for the general sensation. Coming to GSA, and let me tell you one more thing, that please do not fall for the name of the nuclei. I mean, let's say if the nuclei say trigeminal nuclei, or if the nucleus says the nucleus of vagus or anything, that doesn't mean that the vagus nerve or the trigeminal nerve is going to come into it. It is not about the nerves, it is about the type of sensation. If you know that this particular nuclei is responsible for particular type of sensation or particular type of the motor function, then it will carry the sensation from any part of the body, but it has to be exactly the one which has to go into it. I mean, for an example, if I say taste sensation, so it doesn't mean the taste sensation only from the tongue. Taste sensation from the tongue, taste sensation from the palate, taste sensation from the taste buds you may have in the pharynx. Now all those will come into the cranial part of this nucleus of tractus solitarius. So it is about the type of sensation and not about the nuclei. What is the name of the nuclei there? Coming to this general somatic afferent, the king of all the nucleus. I mean, look at the size of this nucleus. Now let me show you the size first. It's a huge nucleus present in the entire brainstem. It is occupying the midbrain, it is occupying the pons and as well as the medulla oblongata, and extends into the upper part of spinal cord as well. So this huge nucleus is the one which is called as GSA, general somatic afferent, with the one which was carrying the general sensation from the face. And what nerve carries the general sensation from face? That's the trigeminal nerve. So trigeminal nucleus, this collectively is called as trigeminal nucleus, but I have to give it different names. I mean, if I number them on 1, 2 and 3, these are the three parts of, or the three set of this nuclei. One is, I mean, this is collectively this is called as the trigeminal nucleus or trigeminal nuclei, which is having three parts, that is mesencephalic nucleus, the one which is present in the midbrain. See, it's a nomenclature which is very logical. We call it mesencephalic nucleus because it is present in the midbrain. Midbrain is also called as the mesencephalon. Number 2 here is the principal sensory nucleus. You call it principal sensory nucleus, or you also can call it chief sensory nucleus. Same thing, principal or chief sensory nucleus. And number 3 here is the spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve. So we have the mesencephalic, principal sensory nucleus and spinal nucleus, the three parts of the trigeminal nucleus which is present in the entire brainstem and responsible for the general sensation, pain, temperature, touch, pressure. I mean, we have three different parts of this nucleus, so there must be a different, functional difference between them as well. Mesencephalic nucleus, please note that mesencephalic nucleus is proprioceptive in function. I'm not writing it there, so please note that mesencephalic nucleus is proprioceptive in function. So all the proprioceptive sensation from the face will go into the mesencephalic nucleus. principal sensory nucleus is for touch and pressure. So please note that principal sensory nucleus is for touch and pressure sensation from the face. And spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve is responsible for pain and temperature. So spinal nucleus of trigeminal nerve is for pain and temperature from the face. The proprioceptive nucleus for touch and pressure, pain and temperature. So all these are going into the trigeminal nuclei. So we have this one set of nuclei which is carrying all kind of general sensation coming from the face, or I should say from the body wall. Two more important thing about the mesencephalic nucleus which you should note here, that mesencephalic nucleus is the only site for the unipolar neurons inside the CNS. Now inside the CNS you will not find any other place where you will have the unipolar neurons. This is the only site for unipolar neurons. And secondly, the mesencephalic nucleus is the nucleus for mesenteric reflex. Mesenteric reflex or the jaw reflex. The jaw reflex nucleus is the mesencephalic nucleus only. So it's a proprioceptive nucleus which is having the unipolar neurons, the only site for unipolar neurons in the CNS, and it's a nucleus for the mesenteric reflex. So that's the special feature of this trigeminal nucleus. We have three different parts and we have three different functions of that. Now we still have one column left here. Now what is this column for? If you look at this, we are done with all the three columns efferent, we are done with all the three columns which are afferent, and we are still saying there is one more column we have there, and this column guys is special somatic afferent. Look at the name itself is kind of odd. We are saying special somatic afferent. Special somatic afferent. When you use the word special and somatic together, somatic word represents the sensation, special sensation from the somatic region, special somatic afferent. Internal ear is an example. Now look at internal ear. Developmentally, internal ear is somatic structure, but it is carrying the sensation of balancing and hearing, and balancing and hearing are what type of sensation? The special sensation. So we have a special column for vestibulocochlear nucleus, that is SSA. So we have this huge vestibular nuclei. I'm just writing V here for vestibular, and at the pontomedullary junction I'm writing C here for cochlear. Vestibulocochlear nuclei. Vestibulocochlear nuclei are under SSA column, special somatic afferent, the one which is responsible for the special sensation but carrying the sensation from something which is developmentally a somatic structure. So that's why the word is special somatic afferent.